Hello, everyone. Welcome to the New Jersey Association for College Admission Counseling College Fair. This is the New Jersey Private School Information Panel. We're so excited to have you participating in this event. We have some fantastic schools and panelists with us here today. My name is Sarah. I will be your facilitator. Before we get started, a few housekeeping items. Your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. You can use the Q&A button, and we encourage you to do so on your screen to type your questions to our presenters at any time throughout the presentation. This is just one of many different sessions happening this week, so be sure to check out the schedule on the website for more. And this presentation is being recorded and will be available at strivescan.com/New Jersey. I'd now like to turn it over to Jennifer and to a great session. Here we go.
Great, thank you so much, Sarah. My name is Jen Cook. I'm the Senior Assistant Director of Transfer Admission at Rider University, and I'm joined here today by my colleague. I'm just going to let her introduce herself, and then I'll go ahead and share my screen with you all.
Hey everybody, how are you doing today? My name is Julia Del Bagno. I'm the Associate Director of Admission here at Bloomfield College, and I'm happy to join Ms. Cook today in presenting all about what you need to know about the differences between public and private institutions.
Great, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to share, we put together a slideshow for you all, and hopefully everyone can see. So today we're going to talk about New Jersey private colleges and universities, and just to kind of give you an idea, we're going to cover some myths that are some common myths about private colleges and universities in New Jersey, and then some of the benefits of attending a private college and university in New Jersey. So to get started, first I wanted to just talk about what is the difference between a private college and a public college. The primary difference is where they get their funding from. So the main difference is that a public college receives funding from the state and private colleges do not. The cost to educate a student at each institution might be similar, but the sticker price of the institutions is going to vary. So, sorry, my Google is talking to me. So the sticker prices might look different because private colleges are not subsidized by the state. So that's where you're seeing those differences. When you're looking at costs and pricing, that's why you're seeing the differences between the two types of institutions. So that's the primary difference. One of the things that we hear, and then it said we're going to talk about myths, right? So one of the things that we hear are that private colleges and universities are more expensive than public colleges or universities. And if you see all my red flags there, you know that is not true, that is false. So the idea that private colleges are more expensive is generally just based on, the sticker price that you might see if you type in, college prices in New Jersey and you get that list. That's where you're going to see that, oh, private colleges must be more expensive. But one of the things that, we hope to talk to you about today, and hope that you'll learn a little bit more about how the financial aid packaging and things work, is that very few students actually will pay the sticker price that you see online. Private colleges do provide a significant number of scholarships and very generous financial aid packages that help to bring that cost down to like within or just about, or even maybe less than a state school price. So I've had students that I've worked with this year who've told me like, oh my gosh, I just got my package and I can't believe it's less than, X public school. And they wouldn't have known that if they didn't go through the process to apply and to fill out their FAFSA and to get that package and look at it and compare. So we can definitely do a good job of bringing that cost down. And that's something that we want you to be aware of. And Julia, if you want to jump in at any point, please do.
Yeah, I think one of the things is that private institutions can also offer, a lot, and I know we're going to go into this shortly, a lot more scholarship opportunities to students as well. And so you might find it a little bit more difficult to get scholarship opportunities at the public institutions, but those private schools are going to be able to come in and say, hey, we can reward you for things like community service or merit or things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things we talked about funding a little bit of how the different institutions are funded, right? So TAG is the tuition aid grant. This is the state aid in the state of New Jersey. And one of the important things to know is when you file a FAFSA, all institutions are not going to award you the same amount of aid. It's based on, set numbers here. So if you see, for example, the maximum TAG awards for the academic year for 2021 to 2022, the different types of institutions have different maximum amounts of awards. So when you look at a state public college or university, you'll see that the maximum amount of funding that a student can receive for TAG is $8,700. But if they were to attend a private institution like Rider or like Bloomfield, what you're going to see is that the maximum amount of funding for TAG increases. So students are actually eligible for more state aid if they attend a private independent college or university. So this is important when you're comparing your financial aid packages, you're looking at all of the different schools out there, or if you're not sure, if you want to apply to a school, just remember that this funding does vary based on the type of college you attend. I work with a lot of community college students, and they tell me, that they weren't eligible for funding at the community college. But as you can see here, county college funding, the maximum's a lot lower. So when they transfer to Rider, I always encourage students, please fill out the FAFSA, because you never know. And the maximum that we're able to give you is a lot higher than what you might be able to get at another institution.
And when you look at this cost, you have the tuition aid grant here, and most students who qualify for that max tuition aid grant are also going to qualify for the Pell Grant from the federal government in addition to that. And that could be upwards of $6,000. So now you're looking just from the government, the federal and state government, you're looking at about $19,000 being subsidized by the state and federal governments. So for instance, if you look at a tuition at Bloomfield, where we're around $31,000 a year, already you're looking at almost over $19,000 coming off that price if you're qualified for these TAG grants and the Pell grants. So now you're bringing that tuition down to about $12,000. And now there we go. We're starting to get competitive with what you see at those public institutions. And remember, as private institutions, we might be also offering you scholarships directly from the institution, such as merit or need-based aid.
Great, thank you. So financial aid, and so kind of looping it all together, right? Kind of going off of that, the original thing, private colleges are more expensive, but no, they're not. We get scholarships, we get additional TAG funding, and then the students that are attending our institutions are receiving this aid. So between 96 and 99% of the students that attend our two institutions are receiving financial aid to attend. At Bloomfield, most of your students at Bloomfield are eligible for the Pell Grant. So that would also make them eligible for that TAG grant that we talked about as well. And then in addition, so this is, some forms of aid, but in addition, private colleges also can award institutional aid. So when a student gets a financial aid package, or offer, right, it's going to include all of the different types of aid that a student is getting. So they might see merit scholarships, they might see Pell grants and TAG. I hate when people say TAG grants because that's in the word, but TAG, or tuition aid grants. They also might see work study. And so there's all different things that a student might see in the financial aid offer. And one of those things might be institutional aid. So for example, Rider provides something called a Rider grant. So you might actually see in a financial aid package that there's additional aid, not merit or scholarship aid, but just additional grant money that the institution might kick in to help to reduce the gap that's left over after financial aid has applied. So that's something that's important to consider, that private colleges do often have some additional flexibility with funding to be able to try to reduce that gap even further. Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
No, go ahead. All I was going to say is actually, and we'll discuss this a little bit more down in the presentation, but the majority of students at Bloomfield College come from families whose gross income is around $30,000 a year. So some of them are even living at the poverty level. So to think that the majority of students here at Bloomfield are coming from situations like that, that could really show you how affordable a Bloomfield or a Wright or a private education in the state of New Jersey actually can be, and sometimes, you know, competitive with or even less than what those public institutions can offer.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Julia, and she's going to kind of take you through some of the other myths and then talk a little bit about the benefits.
Thank you so much, Jen. So let's talk a little bit about academics. Sometimes we think about institutions as public institutions not having more majors to choose from than private colleges. But this is obviously a myth as well. The idea that all private schools do not offer their student bodies a variety of majors is incorrect. There are plenty of private and colleges and universities that offer numerous majors, not just in the state of New Jersey, but in the country, and even offer technical majors like engineering for students to choose from. So Rider itself offers its student body over 100 different majors, and Bloomfield has over 60 different majors for students to choose from. And I know that Rider has been named a college of distinction in numerous academic areas such as education and business. And Bloomfield has one of the best game design majors in the state as well as one of the best nursing programs in the state. So to think that you're not going to be able to choose from different majors is a myth. And in fact, we have a number of students that come in as undecided in their first year. It's actually one of our most popular majors for our incoming freshman class is undecided. And we also have a lot of students that change majors throughout their time here. So maybe they start off with nursing, but realize graphic design is where their passion is. And so being at a smaller private institution, it gives you that opportunity to get to know your faculty, to get your hands on in those classes and see if that's really a fit for you. And then there's plenty of different majors for students to choose from if they feel that that major that they chose is not their fit. And I speak of the nursing to graphic design as an example because I had a student named Marvin who was a nursing major, made it into our nursing program, which is, you know, a huge honor. And then like halfway through his first semester doing his clinicals and rounds, decided this isn't for me. And now he's one of our most notable graphic design majors at the college. So you have that opportunity to try different things. There's a variety of options to choose from. So there's definitely the opportunity to step outside the box and find different things to see what fits you. And maybe even, like I said, a little bit more than at public institutions because you have that small class size, you get that interaction with your professors, your advisors, your faculty. So there are people there to assist you if you're struggling and you're saying, I don't really think this is it. I don't know what to do next. Jennifer, did you want to touch base on that at all?
Yeah, so I just wanted to add one thing that's also really common at Rider with academics is double majors and minors. So it's very common. I think, you know, you kind of touched on it with the small sizes and kind of getting to know the professors and advisors. I often hear that students take a class that they were going to take as an elective, like they weren't even planning to do anything with it. And they just like the professor so much. And the professor like talked them into doing a double major. And like, so it's that connection and that kind of networking that I think helps to build students' resumes and things later on too. So double majors and minors are also pretty common as well.
Great, thank you so much. Okay. Next up, we have research. So one of the things that when we're thinking about academics at institutions is a lot of times you hear public institutions being so notable for the research that they're able to offer its students. And so students say, well, I want to go to a public institution because I want to make sure I have research opportunities. And they're not aware that there are research opportunities as for undergraduate students at private institutions as well. So false, if you are at a private institution, you are still able to conduct research opportunities as an undergraduate or graduate assistant if the school you attend offers graduate degrees. So I know from Rider that one of the best things about their experience is the opportunity for students to collaborate with faculty. And we'll talk about that with the benefits again, but that small size interaction with the professors, one-on-one attention, fine arts students are able to direct, perform, and take part in stage production with their faculty, as well as conduct things with the New York Philharmonic. And if there's a science student, they can partner in research with a faculty mentor. And at Bloomfield, we have a lot of the same opportunities as well. Whether it's doing research within psychology or biology or chemistry in the labs. We have students who have been published as undergraduate students. I had one student who was a student ambassador here. Her name was Nicole. And in her freshman year, she got to know her biology professor really well. And she said, hey, I'm interested in learning more about this. How can I get more involved? The professor said, come here over the summer. I'll pay you to do research with me. Next thing she knows, as a freshman, she was published for assisting with his research. We have nursing, our nursing department, our honors nursing department does a lot of research, clinical research as well. And then we also have an honors program where students are able to present the research that they conduct at national conferences. And we recently had a student that went overseas to present their research at Oxford. So these are great opportunities that private institutions are able to offer, just like public institutions. And sometimes, like I said, even more so when you really get to know your professors on that one-on-one basis.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, a lot of our professors, the majority of our professors that teach at Rider do have terminal degrees in their field. So you are being taught by people with PhDs in their academic fields, and they are, conducting research. I have a student who transferred to me from Middlesex, and she's working in a lab right now. This is her first semester, and she already has a job working in a lab with a professor. So there's definitely those opportunities out there. And, Julia mentioned the honors programs. We have honors programs at Rider as well, in business honors, and also our baccalaureate honors program. So the students also, one of the advantages of those programs is at Rider, they're team taught. So you get a really wide variety of exposure to different types of materials. So you might be taking a class that's called Nature and Nurture, and it's taught by a psychologist and a biologist, which is really kind of unique, and you get a really unique experience. And then they also present their work like at a symposium at the end as well. So really great opportunities to get involved in research on campus, even at a private institution, for sure.
All right, next up, we're going to talk about diversity, which is one of the things that are near and dear to my hearts. One of the myths is that private colleges are not as diverse or have a predominantly student body that's made up of, Caucasian or white students. And I know that both of our institutions have a strong connection with our multicultural backgrounds and our diversity on our campus. So Bloomfield is actually the only four-year private college in the state that is both a predominantly Black as well as Hispanic serving institution. And these are government designations that afford us grants from the government as well, where we're able to make advancements on our campus to make sure that we're able to offer great opportunities to our students of color here on our campus, as well as being predominantly Black and Hispanic. The majority of our student body identifies as first generation college students, and like I said before, are coming from low income families. So like I said, the average salary for our incoming students, their family salary is only about $30,000 a year, which is around the poverty level. So our students are low income, first generation college students. That's the majority on our campus. And so our staff is really well equipped to make sure that we're here to help those students transition successfully at the college level. So coming in and finding people you can connect with, finding people that look like you on campus, that you can say, hey, I don't know what to do next. Where do I go? Who do I talk to? We have a great first year seminar program where you'll have no more than 20 students in your class. You can connect with a first year professor in those seminar classes, and they're going to teach you everything there is to know about being successful at the college level, especially at the Bloomfield College level. So what do you need to know about campus? What resources are there for you? What is the Center for Student Success? Who do I go to if I need to change my major? So those things are all covered in your first year seminar course to make sure that you're not missing anything that's important for you to be successful at the college level. Did you want to talk about Rider?
Sure. Yeah. So at Rider, so 44% of our students that are enrolled at Rider identify as students of color. And you know, it might not be quite as much as Bloomfield, but it is still more diverse on average, like than the average university. It also reflects the general diversity of the state of New Jersey. So it's definitely, you know, in terms of kind of dispelling the myths, it's definitely a diverse institution. And the percentage actually has been increasing each year. So, you know, we see a larger number each year of Hispanic students and Black students coming into Rider, which is awesome. So one of the other things that we have, and, you know, most colleges have a chief diversity officer or something like that, that's kind of meant to oversee and, you know, and make sure that Rider's really, you know, and other institutions really fulfilling their commitment to diversity and inclusion. We have a Center for Diversity and Inclusion on campus, and it's brand new space, and it's just a really nice collaborative space that students can use on campus, and go in and just kind of talk and do their work, and it's decorated really nicely with murals that are hand painted from local artists in the Trenton community. So it's a really great space, and the person who's in charge of that center, her name is Dr. Pam Pruitt, and she's a great resource and a really good advocate for students on campus as well. And another thing about diversity, you know, we didn't talk about just different types of diversity. So obviously like economic, LGBTQ. So like just keeping in mind all the resources that are available, and to have a small campus, like a private institution like ours, where you have that small campus, those students do have a voice on campus and can really affect change on campus as well.
Absolutely. So next up, we're going to talk about some of the things that we discussed kind of succinctly in what are the benefits of attending a private college versus a public one. So number one, we're going to talk about, which I think we've touched on a lot here, is the small class size and the support. You're going to have smaller classes within a private institution than public. Average class sizes, you know, are going to range depending on the size of the institution, but I know at Rider, I believe it's 11-to-1. At Bloomfield, it's a 13-to-1 student to faculty ratio. So you really do get those one-on-one individualized attention with your classes. I teach a first-year seminar class here at the college, and I have about 17 students in my class. I know every single one of them by name. I know who misses the majority of the class that shouldn't. I know Marie is going to show up late to every class with Dunkin' Donuts and never brings me a cup, and that really gets me upset. But you're going to get those kind of relationships at smaller institutions that you might not get at a larger school. I went to like even a mid-sized school. It wasn't even a large institution. And if I didn't raise my hand and participate, my professors would have never known who I was. They sent a sheet around the class for you to sign in. And, you know, it took the entire class for it to get around to the back of the classroom. It was a lecture hall. It wasn't a classroom. At Bloomfield, we have only one lecture hall on campus, and that is usually used for large campus meetings. But really, it's not really held for classes because all of our classes are usually capped at 20 or 25 students. And as you go throughout your 4 years, those classes are going to get smaller because not everybody's going to be a nursing major. Not everybody's going to be a business major. So you might have as little as 8 students in a class. So your professors get to know who you are and get to know what your strengths are and can provide you some great tips about moving forward. So whether it's offering you job opportunities or telling you where you would fit most within your career aspirations, giving you advice, connecting you, networking with you. These are all great benefits of a smaller school. Career outcomes and personalized advising, like we talked about, when you can connect with your faculty like that, when you can ask for help, when you can seek out resources that are going to assist you in becoming successful because you're a name, not a number, it's going to lead to your overall success, both within the school and after the school. Our career services is open to both our undergraduate students as well as our alumni, so you can always come back and say, hey, you know, something happened, I need career advice again, or how do I boost up my resume? I'm thinking of transferring jobs. Can we conduct some mock interviews? And you'll have advisors and people here on campus to help you with that. We have a Center for Student Success here at the college. We have disability services accommodations. We have a food pantry on campus for our students that might need. We also have a closet, a professional closet on campus for our students who might not be able to afford to go out and get professional style clothes for interviews or for internships, that they can come on campus and they can look through our closet, and it's free of charge. It's things that have been donated by the community and by the town and by the campus itself. And so, you know, there's a lot of different things we're able to offer our students because we have that small family feel here. And in addition to that, that kind of leads into those connections that you're going to make. To talk a little bit about the girl Nicole I talked about, who did research in her freshman year. She graduated last year, and she was actually participating in one of our accepted student events here that was virtual. And we had her, she was in natural science and mathematics, obviously as a biology major. And the person presenting with us on the division was a math. So they didn't really interact too much because math, science, not always together, different kind of course ladder throughout their 4 years. And so they were talking, preparing for the session to start. And Nicole said, "Oh, you know, I'm a senior biology major." And Dr. Cook, who's the math professor, was like, "Oh, nice to meet you. Sorry I haven't had you in class. Hey, what was your specialty?" And, you know, she said, "Oh, biology." And she was like, "Well, you know, I have a friend that works at L'Oreal that's looking for somebody. Shoot me over your resume. I'll make sure I get it to them so that you can get an interview with them to see if you'd fit." So those are the connections you're going to make here. She didn't even have her in class, but the professor was willing to send her resume out and get her an interview opportunity. So those networking, you know, you wouldn't get that at larger institutions where you're a number, not a name. Here you could be and at Rider as well, you could be a big fish in a small pond. Did you want to touch on those connections as well?
Yeah, so one of the things I wanted, so as you were talking about the small classes and support, I thought of a story that's about myself. But when I went to undergrad, I went to a very large university, and I wanted to study abroad. And in order to do that, I needed a recommendation letter from a professor. And how do you get a recommendation letter from a professor that knows you well in a class of 300 students, like a giant lecture hall, right? So I was like, well, I have an A in this professor's class. He must know who I am. So I went up to, I went to his office hours and I said, "Excuse me, professor, could you write me a recommendation letter? I want to study abroad." And he said, "Could you write it and I will sign it?" Because he didn't know what to write and didn't know, who I was or really anything about me, So I think, getting that perspective and just the experience that you're going to have at a private college where somebody is going to get to know you, and you're going to walk into that office and you're going to say, like, "Can you write me a recommendation?" And they're going to say, "Oh my gosh, absolutely. Like, I would be glad to." Like, and the quality, right? Like the quality of the letter is going to reflect that, because they're going to know who you are and they're going to know, like what your strengths and what your goals are. So I think that is definitely a difference to highlight at the type of personalized attention that you will get at a school that's similar in size to ours. And then similar to like the networking and things that you were mentioning, I hear it all the time where, students are like, "Oh yeah, I was in the rock climbing club and I met so-and-so who's, a business major, and they connected me to a professor who was doing research that I was interested in." And like, it's just like that kind of very natural and organic type of networking that happens. It's not like particularly forced. It just happens to come out of the connections and the relationships that you're making. So I think that's definitely something that, private colleges and universities definitely have going for them. And then one of the other things about careers, that's something I think all of us really pride ourselves on, is our ability to get the students jobs after. And we have at Rider, we have specialized kind of career advising depending on what college you're in at Rider. So if you're a business student, if you're a liberal arts student, if you're a science, student, you're going to have specialized advisors that are used to working with students like from your population. So they're going to be able to help you kind of tailor your resumes and your interview skills and find those opportunities as well. Let's see. All right.
So these are some tips for applying to school, especially to private colleges. You want to apply early. When you apply early, a lot of times you can open yourself up to more scholarship opportunities, to receiving a fee waiver, early registration, and also one of the most important things to me is early financial aid packaging. So you can start to really receive those financial aid packages earlier in the process of making your decision, which gives you more time to plan. Because a lot of times what will happen is if a student waits too long, you wind up getting a financial aid package in March or April, and then you need to make a decision by May, which gives you a short amount of time to really say, hey, what is financially viable for me and my family? So the earlier you apply, the earlier you submit your FAFSA, which is also on this list as well, the sooner you can get those financial aid packages and make an educated decision about, hey, what's the good fit for me and what is financially possible for me and my family to be able to afford. You should always make sure to ask about scholarships. One of the things that I always recommend to my students is if you get a financial aid package that's better at another institution, but you want to be at Bloomfield, send me an email and say, hey, listen, I really love my visit at Bloomfield, but I am going to spend less money if I go here. And because we're smaller and private, we can sometimes bring that to our leadership teams here and say, listen, it's a matter of $3,000. Is there anything we could do for this student to make us, compatible with the other institution, or even to bring down our costs to make it more affordable? And a lot of times I reach out to the families of those students and say, what is doable for you? What could be a payment that you can make per month towards your education, so that I can bring that back to my bosses and say, listen, they want to be at Bloomfield. It's going to cost them about $500. They can afford $350. What can we do? And our leadership will work with us to help make those dreams come true for you. So it's really important that you, again, we're small private schools, so it's important you stay in touch with your admission counselor, you stay in touch with your financial aid counselors, you make those personal connections early on in the admission process so that we can better advise you and try to make sure that we're making our education as affordable and as accessible to you as possible. So we talked about the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid. Please remember that is the free application and that you do not have to pay to file that. And many schools will offer FAFSA filing as part of your application process. So you can reach out to the financial aid office and say, I'm having trouble filing the FAFSA. Can you help me? And a lot of them will offer you appointments to come in, sit down and get assistance with filing that, or even doing virtual appointments for assistance with filing that. The FAFSA was available as of October 1st for our seniors. If you are not a senior currently, next year or the year after, it will always be available on October 1st. And you're always going to use 2-year prior taxes. So if you are coming in for fall of 2022, you're going to use your 2020 taxes to file the FAFSA. So your parents already should have access to those documents, and you can file it now if you're a senior. So I definitely recommend filing it sooner than later. You can add up to 10 colleges to it. As soon as you get a financial package from one of the schools, if you've applied to more than 10, you can take one school off and add one in its place. And again, you can always have somebody assist in filing that. Please remember one more time that it is free. FAFSA.gov is the website, and you should never pay to file that as it is a free application. And then finally, visit. It's probably the most important aspect of your decision-making process is actually getting on campus, seeing if you fit in, making those connections, and seeing if you can see yourself on that campus. So definitely make sure you can visit. I will put our visit website in the chat, and I'm sure Jennifer will do the same, so that this way you can find out about different ways to visit the campuses that you're interested in. If you don't do it at the application process, then definitely do it before you make your final decision based off the schools that you get accepted in.
Yes, and I just wanted to add, yeah, definitely don't be afraid to put in an appeal or to tell us, what that other offer is that you're getting from that other school. When I applied to colleges, I didn't even know I could do that. Like, I got my financial aid package and I thought that was it. Like, that's the end. I didn't know that, like, you could call them and you could say, like, listen, I might actually be considering this really seriously. But I didn't know that was even a thing you could do. So definitely make sure that you do that. Talk to your admissions counselor. They can't help you if they don't know there's an issue. So if you get a package that's, better, definitely reach out to them and let them know and say, I really, really want to be at your school. What can you do? And, just like Julia said, we're the same way, so we are that small school where you are going to get that connection and be able to go to your director and to your financial aid office and say, like, what can we do for this student? How can we make this a possibility for them? So definitely don't be afraid to do that. And then also in terms of visits, like there's all different types of visits, I think. So like I know at Ryder, we have something that's called Bronc for a Day, where we pair you up with a student in your major and you can go to class with them for the day. So you can actually really experience what it's like to be a Ryder student. So if you want that big open house feel where you have, 200-300 people there, you could do that. If you want like a more personalized individual type of visit and that's something you want to do, then we have that available as well. So I really think it's an important part of the decision-making process, as my colleague said, to make sure that you are going out there and visiting as many of the schools as you can to really get a feel for if it's going to be a good fit for you, because the colleges that you're applying to and that you decide to enroll in, they also want to make sure that it's a good fit for you. So it's like a partnership. Like we have to be a good fit for each other, right? So I think it's definitely a good thing to visit, because you really will get that feeling of if it's going to be the right place for you. And some schools offer incentives to visit. So like Ryder, for example, if you visit a certain number of times, you get credits towards your textbooks that you can use and things like that.
All right, so now it's your turn. You could use the chat feature, the Q&A feature in your Zoom box to ask any questions that you might have, anything that we didn't cover. Hopefully we were able to answer a lot of the questions you might have had between the differences between a public or private, as well as the benefits of a private institution. So feel free to ask any questions that you might have. We'd be happy to answer those for you. I also recommend taking a screenshot if you liked myself and Ryder's presentations here, and you want to learn more about our institutions. Feel free to take a quick picture with your cell phone so you can have our contact information if you ever need to reach out to us again in the future. So I guess we did an excellent job because there's no questions at this time.
We must have done such a great job.
No question is too big, no question is too small. So please don't hesitate. If you do have anything, we'll give you a couple more minutes just to think about it.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen while we're doing that, and then so I can grab that visit link and put that in there for everyone. And as I just went to do that, I forgot to mention, we also have some really great virtual tour options as well. So I think one of the things that we've noticed is, students who are from further away maybe don't want to come, make the drive all the way down at first. Maybe they want to do a virtual tour first. So there are also some good virtual tour options as well if you can't make it down in person.
All right, I guess we'll give it one more minute, give it to 6:40. So if there's any questions out there, feel free to ask. Otherwise, by about 6:40, we'll send it over to StriveScan, who will close it out for us.
All right, I guess we don't have anyone. Well, thanks everyone for your time, and we're going to turn it back over to Sarah.
Thank you so much. I'd really like to thank our wonderful presenters today for their insight and their information. And thank you for tuning in and joining us. When you close this window, there will be a link to a very quick 5-question survey. We'd appreciate any feedback you can provide. We encourage you to check back to the schedule and sign up for more upcoming sessions. And you'll be able to find this session's recording, as well as all of the other session recordings at strivescan.com/New Jersey. Thank you so much and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everybody.